Hello, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile. This is a show where I get to talk about sports. I get to talk about business, and I get to talk about everything in between. Today, my incredible guest, I have Trav Mueller. He's the co-founder of Humid Outside, incredible apparel. Very excited to get to talk to Trav about that. Maybe score myself a t-shirt along the way. Trav, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
It is an incredible day to be alive, man. It's one that ends in Y. I love them all. I don't know why people hate Mondays. I think Mondays is a great start. It's a good way to start. Let's
That's right.
get it.
That's
Let's
right.
get it, Trav.
It only
What do you
tastes
got?
bad if you let it, right?
Exactly, right? You only don't like Mondays if you think you don't like Mondays. So start doing something that makes you like Mondays. I don't know, eat ice cream for breakfast. I bet you will start liking Mondays if you eat ice cream for breakfast. I considered it this morning. I didn't need to, though. But Trav, very excited to get to talk to you about your life, about your career, about what you're doing, the connection to hunting and fishing and sports. But first question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much?
Okay, so why do I love sports? Well, first of all, I played sports. It's a lot of years
Okay.
ago now, but
15, 5, like 3?
well, I grew up in this tiny little town in North Dakota where when I was like my kids' age, which are 7 and 9 right now, when I was their age, we had our BMX bikes and baseball bats and gloves. That was it. There was 150 people that lived in the entire town, so there was only a handful of us kids. And what else do you do other than like, run around with a pellet gun and baseball bats and you play baseball or go hunting as a kid? Right. My kids aren't running around in pellet guns.
I was gonna say you live in Florida now; it's a little more densely populated there.
Just for the record, that was the 1980s. It was acceptable.
Things were different back then.
But no, I love sports because honestly, and I just fast forward to now with my kids being in it. I think like the structure, the discipline, the memory aspect of like having to learn a play, run the play again, winning and losing. We're not the types that are like, it's great to come in 17th, or 15th or whatever it is. It's we like to win. We like to teach the kids to win, and then, but if they lose, what do they do different? There's like this coaching aspect that comes from sports that is going to carry through, to the rest of their lives. And when I think that they're my age and they're, in a job, and if they've got a boss, they've got to be coached. If they're, running an entrepreneurial path like me, you've got to take coaching. If you can't, it's going to be a real tough, rocky road, So, I mean, that's when I think about the love for sports, it is the fundamental aspects that come out of any game that you're playing. So
100%, man. I couldn't agree more. A lot of people that I do ask that question to, it is some sort of answer like that, right? Like it's the innate things you learn. It's not the physical, actual playing the sport. It's learning how to lose, especially when you're 8, and you really don't lose that much when you're 8, right? It's learning how to, be coached. It's teamwork. There's just all these things that get involved, all these attributes that outside of like a little bit of school, you're really not going to learn them anywhere else. Like, where are you, if you're a relatively okay student, like, where are you going to learn losing, right? Like, failing a test every once in a while. Well, if you failed the test, everyone else probably did, whatever. That's not a big deal. Like, there's so many different things that you're only really going to learn from sports, especially at a young age, that is going to get you used to that. One thing my parents did with me, like, my parents would literally, and I'm not kidding about this, they would like razz me from the sidelines. Like, I'd be playing baseball and I'd be at shortstop, I'd make an error, and my mom would literally scream up and be like, E6. It's like, oh, geez, thanks, Mom. But like, that kind of helped me get thick skin. And like, I'm super grateful for that. Now, my parents have a much different parenting style, I would say, than most people. I am very grateful. The only people I wish I could be raised from is them, because I turned out, I don't know, pretty decent. But that was always fun to me. And learning how to be coached and all those things I think are really, really important. It's kind of sounded like I want to see, are you the coach? Are you
no,
oh, okay. You sounded kind of sounded like the coach.
I'm not the right guy to coach. My kids have asked me that, and was like, I'm not the guy. I'll be there to support all the coaches. I'm like, whatever the coach says goes. I'm not the sideline,
Good. Oh, those parents are the worst.
Do it.
What how do you have that conversation with your kids? Like, especially when they're young, like that first time that they're now like there's a different authority figure that's not a teacher, right? You're kind of brought up teachers,
Yeah.
policemen, firefighters, listen to those guys. Now it's just some guy in a baseball cap. It's like, no, listen to him. How do you have that conversation with kids? Because like I've never been anywhere near that conversation before.
I mean, my kids just naturally just went for it, but because it was like you're going to be on the t-ball team, and here are the coaches, and they're in charge, and listen to what they say, and it was just plain and simple. So, and I think some of the discussions that we had to, or that I've had with them, just about not being the coach personally, was more like this is good to take coaching. You get coaching, every other minute of the day from me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great to get it from somebody else. And I realize that's not the same for everybody. So it works for us.
As
So,
long as it
and then,
works, man.
and then
And
other kids don't get yelled at by me then in that case too. So
yeah, maybe not maybe not in 2021.
yeah,
Let's just leave it at that. I know again, so before, you and I, before we had this conversation we're having right now, I know you and I, we had a nice little conversation. You were in that corporate America world, kind of going back to coaching, right? You kind of raised yourself throughout the ranks. You probably talked to a lot of different people on a different day. What like how can you equate coaching into corporate America for us? Because I know you were pretty, you did some stuff. So can you tell me a little bit about what you did, and maybe even how you kind of were able to instill some of those lessons you learned from sports into your previous job. We'll get to the current one in a little bit.
yeah. Okay, so I think just the idea that you got to understand, first of all, your landscape, your opponents. In our case, it was obviously your competition. Like where where are you sitting in terms of your cost, your price, your capability, your technology, all of these things that have to be kind of taken in, just like watching the tape, right? And then deciding with your team, whether at one point in the beginning of my career. Um, After I was, well, I won't muddy the water here, but like when I was a young manager, I'll say that, right? Like when I was a young manager and I had a lot of people that I was employing all over the world, actually. You had to deal with different cultures and different language capabilities and so on, and bring everybody together to kind of push this to this common goal, which should, if I'm going to talk football, it was like there's that goal line, there's the big post, let's go. And for me at a young age, you're also, when you're in your 20s, I think you're also not thinking about so much of the like the ancillary noise, and you're just like head down,
Hmm.
plow forward, a lot more willing to take more risks, I could probably say, versus when I was later with kids, and you're thinking more from a big leadership level. You just got to take it more calculated, right? So so anyway, as a young manager, it was all about bringing this team together, pushing it down the field, and of course that carries into even later in life. But I think I got a lot more, I'll say, soft with my management styles, and became a much better listener, and was able to kind of take it in and take the feedback from the team, both for myself, both for the rest of the leadership team, and then kind of mold and shape to keep driving forward and keep working the win. So
Hmm.
it really was. I mean, and still is. If I think every day right here, running our own company, it's a sport. It's a sport.
Absolutely, it is, especially with what you guys are doing, which I think again, pretty cool. Humid Outside, some incredible apparel. Where did the idea? So, did you want to be an entrepreneur first, or did you have the idea for Humid Outside first and said, "This is my goal, is to now do this"?
Well, let me just back it up a little bit. Then I'll tell you,
Please.
like, um, my goal was not always to be an entrepreneur. I think, back to being, some 20 years. I just wrapped up a 20-year career last year in the same company, and I started as a field engineer in gas turbines, right? So, um, I was working in power plants, doing services, construction, all that kind of stuff in the field. And then once I got into management, that was my first big indicator that it was like, wow, this is a movement, right? This is, or not, this was like a movement in my career, I guess, right?
Hmm.
Nice big elevated step. And from there, I started getting really hungry, hungry for, how to build my name, my own personal brand. Of course, this is way before social media and stuff. So personal branding was amongst my peers, amongst, everybody else amongst our business in our community of the power industry, which is a very small industry in the grand scheme. Um, so, as you do that, and, in my mind, I was like, one day I will be an executive leading, a component of this business or running this business. And I just kept kind of, one foot in front of the other
Mm-hmm.
each time, and my style was to kind of take on whatever the hard things were. And I don't mean that to be big on myself. It was like, if it was going to be a hard job, I was going to be standing there waving my hand going, yeah, I'll take that. I want
No
that.
one, no one else wants to do it, right? Now you make yourself indispensable.
That's right. I mean, I grew up being the guy with, shoveling grain and doing all the heavy lifting and the labor. Nothing was ever beneath me. So it was like, I'll take it on, the dirty work. Right. And I remember, I'll say, like, a pivotal point in my career around 2008. I walked into my CEO's office at that time, and he said, listen, I want to move you into the next role. My question for you is, do you want to work domestically or internationally? And I said, well, that, or globally, he said, actually. And it was like, that's easy. I'll take the global role. And he said, well, congratulations, then you're going to lead our oil and gas business, and I need you to move to Florence, Italy. And so I was like, all right, so this is going to be different, right? And it really was. It was a huge challenge for me because I was still pretty young in my career, and but, faced the challenge, took it on. And not to bore with all the details, but, over time we went through a few different changes in the business, which I was a big part of, transformations and mergers, acquisitions, things like that, until ultimately running one of the components of our business, and that ended last July. And at that time, I was an executive, part of a $1.6 billion business at that time, and the business that I was leading was $1 billion segment of the company. So it was a big job. It was very interesting. Love that field, but there were things that were kind of leading up to that where I started to feel like, kind of like the tape was replaying, and
Mm-hmm.
I had been there and done that in many cases. Granted, not as big of a scale, but it started kind of becoming this repeat thing. And I'm not much into, like, repeat. I could never stand on a line and just keep doing the same thing over
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
over. So so I knew it was like, it's time to start expanding, what I was going to do. And at that time, Pat McDonald, a very close colleague of mine, and probably a great, a better friend actually than a colleague. But we did a lot of great things together. And on that path, we met in 2014. And in fact, he was in the field. He was in a job in Australia. Um, we had a bit of a crisis that happened, and I came to know this guy, Pat McDonald. I was like, who is this guy? And turns out he lived in Tampa. So I said, well, you're coming back on your, your rest and relax. Come and see me. Let's have a meeting. Let's get a lunch. And it's like, this guy is amazing. This guy is, we need him on the staff here, helping to lead others, actually, instead of being led in the field necessarily. We needed him as a leader. So we brought him in. Him and I started doing all kinds of big things in the business. And eventually we'd be sitting around over beers in the pub. And Pat was this, like, serial entrepreneur before he ever came to our business. And he was like, man, with my background and what you've done, it's like, yeah, we could do some really cool things out there. And he kept planting those seeds, right? He'd, like, poke me a little bit and just keep poking at me until it's like, all right, something's got to give. We've got to chase something here. So let's figure out what problems need to be solved. And I was, reading the 4 Hour Work Week and Crush
Mm-hmm.
It and all these, like, standard, entrepreneurial, like, how to go kick ass in your own space kind of books. And I think I'd read the 4 Hour Work Week like 3 times. And about the third time, I was like, all right, it's time to make the list. Let's make the list. And most of it was in that space of power, which was, my comfort zone.
Explain
Although it was,
explain what list you're making for the
so
listeners.
I was making, like, a list of ideas and problems that needed to be solved. I'll just give you, like, one example was solar. two examples. It was both around solar. One of them was like the solar products, because at that time, well, solar products and solar service. You know, it had people come into my house, like knocking on my door, which,
Hmm.
you know, it's in 2021. Like, who wants someone knocking on your door, you know, and going like, hey, can I sell you solar for your house? It was like, there's got to be a better way to sell solar than this, you know? And so started just brainstorming some ideas and putting that together. And then it was like the product itself. Could that be redesigned? Could you make something retractable? Could it be something you don't have to bolt to your roof, you know? And I'm sure there's tons of people always thinking about this stuff, but I just had to like write them down purely as to do something, right? You got to take a step
Hmm.
forward. You better start writing it down and figuring out like what things could be, you know, solved if you want to go fix a problem. And on that list is funny. I mean, we had our own boat. Pat's been in the boating world his whole life. And I remember going to Dick's Sporting Goods, and you'd see like, you know, 15 different brands of fishing shirts there, right? You walk in there, all these shiny polyester shirts with a
Hmm.
bunch of stuff all over them. And it's like, there's got to be something better than this. Cause I know, first of all, I can't stand like that shiny, slick polyester.
Hmm.
It's like, I'm not wearing this out on my boat. And, so I put that on the list too. It was like, you know, a good fishing shirt. And as we researched more, it was like, well, there's nothing actually designed for humid weather. There's plenty of hot weather gear, cold weather gear, but who's designing this truly to perform in humid weather? And there was no companies. The best thing I could find actually was REI, that had put some white papers out there about different types of fabric blends that work good. So as we were going through this list, Pat was like, I think that's it, man. I think we could design something, you know, that works. Is like, of all things around like power and all the technical stuff that we know, you seriously think this is the best idea? He was like, 100%. You know, come on, if we could build power plants in Egypt and put a gigawatt of power on there, I think we can make a shirt. Like, let's start with that, and let's figure it out. You know, let's think like engineers. So
I love that. Hey man, we did all this. Like, I'm pretty confident we can make a shirt, right? Well, you say it
yeah,
like that. I guess
it
you're
kind of
right.
was. It was like, I guess you're right. I mean, it's not to you know, belittle the people that are making
No.
clothing today, because it's definitely a hard thing to do, and I'm finding that out the hard way. But it's like, you know, we were confident in what we could go do, so we did it. So anyway, just from there, it turned into all of the research and development. And it may sound silly that you would put this level of work into creating a shirt, but we were out to solve a problem. And the problem is fabric that doesn't breathe and doesn't perform in humid weather conditions. So after sourcing a ton of different fabrics from all over the world, we, you know, did some prototyping, and we zeroed in on a specific blend that was like working. And, you know, like good field engineers would do, you take the
Hmm.
data and you document everything, and you go like, this is the stuff. Like, this is the stuff that's really working.
That is awesome.
And so, you know, fast forward, we found manufacturer that could do the textile piece, manufacturing that could do the cutting and the sewing and the,
So
you know,
I want to get to that in a
all
second
the
because
rest.
I have some questions,
Yeah,
and I know you want to take a sip of your water. So please,
thank you.
just go ahead and do that. But I think it's just, you know, again, I think that's really important that people, you know, pay attention to. Right? You had this incredible, amazing career. You were all the way at the top. Your one goal was to run a huge portion of this business. You made it to that goal, and you were crushing it. And I don't know, man. You're running $1 billion business. I'm pretty sure you're doing pretty well for yourself at that point, right?
Yeah,
I'm not here to ask you how many dollars are in your bank account, but I don't think any of us are idiots here. So it's just one of those things where you you had that itch. You just didn't know how to scratch it. And I think it's really cool because most people you hear, they come up with this idea and like they can't get it out of their head, right? And just like then they eventually just have to do it. It becomes kind of a side hustle. They do what they have to do. Seems like you were the opposite. You were like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Like I did this, been there, done that, as you said before. It was a tape playing on repeat. You saw all the problems, you corrected them all, you did it all again. So you needed something else to do. So I think it's pretty cool that you and Pat kind of I would say, I don't know, 4 out of every 5 times that someone comes up with an idea and then tries to turn it into a business. You guys said, we want to run a business. Let's try and figure out a problem, which I think is more important because it actually allows you to, what's the saying? Too close to the forest to see the trees, right? Like you actually can step back and say, We're looking for a problem. I don't care what the problem is. It'd be nice if it was connected to power, energy, the things that we're really, really knowledgeable about. But if it's not, it's not. And, again, it went to fishing and you guys live in Florida, right? So it's, humid. It makes sense. So I guess like when did you finally pull that trigger? Was this kind of a side hustle, a side business for a little while till it got to a point? Or did you say the only way you can make it is, if we both just actually commit 100% and go for it? How did that part of the process work?
Yeah, we never hustled it on the side because the process from like research and development started in May of 2019, and we didn't have our first prototype until I think August. And then there's you got to work through all this development to get real production runs done, and that's not that simple to get that stuff going and to get it done right. And for us, I mean, the way our brains work is like quality, and we think if you look at our website or kind of dig into us a little bit more, it's like form, fit, and function. That's how an engineer thinks. It's got to be the right form of the materials.
What's that website, by the way?
The website is humidoutside.com.
There we go.
Yeah,
Well, it'll be
but
in the show notes
humid,
for everyone, but we're going to say it
yeah,
100 times. I promise you that.
but humid spelled HUMID, proper way of spelling humid, because our logo is we're still working through a little bit of a change with it, but it's like sometimes people look at it and see HUMD. So it's proper humid.
Did I spell it right? Let's see. Okay, I did spell it right. All right, good.
Cool.
Anyway, so you're on the website. I did check it out. It's top notch. Like I wouldn't guess that it was. I mean, I guess how do I say this without sounding like an ass? Sorry about that. Let me retract that statement. It looks very legit, right? It's like it looks real. It doesn't look like this is a little tiny company or anything. It looks like you guys have been doing this for a while. So kudos and congratulations to you and the team there. How like I guess how do you really start? I'm sorry, you were finishing a story, weren't you? I'll let you go back. I interjected to get the website in there and I ruined the story. My bad.
No,
I'm usually pretty good at this. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I can't actually recall like where I was kind of going there. It was
you go to the website, it's about quality, form, fit, function.
That's right. Form, fit, and function. I
Gotcha.
mean, it's so, and we think like the right form of the material, the best fit possible, and it's got to function. So ultimately, when we say we're going to go solve a problem, it needs to work. This isn't just something you toss on and they're like, it's just another T-shirt. It's actually something that feels amazing. It's so soft. Like, how could a fabric, which traditionally when you look at performance fabrics, they're told as polyester, dry fits, and all things like that. But ours looks like a really high end fabric that feels like just a plush cotton kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like a really good broken in, beautiful cotton. And but the breathability is through the roof. So like that's the big piece, right? So if you go outside and it's 100% humidity, 93 degrees, like it is every day in Tampa throughout the summer here, it's not going to cling to you. In fact, you're going to feel just fine. You can wear long sleeves out in the baking sun and look and feel great. So you can wear it on the boat, and you can wear it right into the yacht club when you dock, and you're not looking like a walking billboard for a snook or sailfish. Not to say that those are bad, but that's not our style. So we just wanted something that was going to be different from from the action into a casual atmosphere.
I also like how you tell that story too, right? You're right on the boat, then you're gonna come off, you're gonna dock, you're gonna walk right into that yacht club, you're gonna order your highball, and you're gonna enjoy the rest of your night. No, I think that's it's really important too, right? To tell that story and get people to understand exactly what they're getting into. So I'm kind of curious. Yeah. You're not going to tell us the blend. Duh, that's proprietary. We don't want to know. Well, we want to know, but we're not going to ask. How many different like prototypes did you guys have? How many tries did it take? Because you're, again, not to say that you're a perfectionist, but you're a hard worker. So I'm assuming you still think that there's a better blend potentially out there. You're just comfortable with the one that you're at now. How does the evolution of that product work to, okay, we need to get something out? Because we could literally be sitting here for 100 years trying to find that perfect blend, right? At what point do you say, okay, I think we can pull the trigger here, but understand that the product will continue to get better over time?
Right. So it took us, I mean, we started with, short sleeve, long sleeve T-shirts. All the fabric was the same, but the real challenge is that fit. because once you get the fabric blended out how you want it, everything else has got to be absolute perfect fit. We wanted, really high end clean stitching. We wanted, not a trim fit. I mean, I'm not a trim guy. I've never been one. So it's like, we're not making slim fit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want all that boxy, extra floppy, stuff, which is what you find in a lot of the things that are just manufactured offshore. By the way, we're manufacturing this stuff all in the United States. So,
Love it.
from the textile all the way through to the last thread being sewn. So, um, for us, that's why it took several versions of a prototype. I think we went through three or four before we finally got that fit just perfectly. And then we moved into this season polos, which I'm wearing the prototype for our polo, which is the other kind of transition of our brand. We're heavy in the boating space, around the water, and so on. Let's say like the yacht club meets the country club. There again, polo shirts, so many that you find are just big, floppy, boxy. They've got too much sleeve going on. You're out there constantly doing this. And if you're playing an 18 hole round of golf, around that 13th hole, was talking to my old CEO about this, is like, that's where the wheels start coming off the bus a lot of times. Right. So you come around that turn, you don't want to be all disheveled and feeling nasty. You want to feel good. So, and if the shirt hasn't, completely quit out on you, and you're still keeping it together, that's generally what we're shooting for in the polo. So
I love it.
Which will be happening, behind schedule, which everything has been happening behind schedule thanks to last year. But, that whole process will get better and more efficient. We're 100% certain of that, because we can't accept, long lead times on things.
Yeah.
So we're still learning though. It's like, hey, you took a couple guys that built power plants yesterday that are now in the apparel space, and we come in, it's like the bull in the china shop, a
Yep.
little bit of like, where's the schedule, where's this, where's that. We're thinking like we're creating something big, and everybody's looking at us like, that's not how we do it here. It's like,
it's how we do it here, which I think is important, right? It's taking those lessons that you learned in sports, that you learned in corporate America, and being able to put them on display while running your own company, which I think is extremely important. And it sounds like you guys are having some fun with it, which is pretty cool, but you're also doing really, really well. And I think, again, the opportunity in the space, you're right. Like, so I guess if I were to throw on my Nike Dry Fit or my Under Armour, like what could I just, a normal consumer might go on a run every once in a while, play some slow pitch softball with the guys and drink some beers. What would I notice the difference be? And why should someone like myself maybe spend a couple extra bucks to get the high quality product that you guys are making?
Well, I think about that a lot, actually. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I'll be wearing my own shirt, and let's just say, like, let's say a short sleeve shirt. It almost feels like I'm wearing nothing. It feels that light and airy, except it's not so light that you're going to be cold if it's, if it gets a little chilly. This fabric allows your body to temperature balance, right? So
That's
as
cool.
long as your skin can, because if you think about this, right, when you put something up against your skin and it doesn't breathe, your skin's going to sweat. I don't care what temperature it is, right? Your skin's going to sweat. If that can't break the barrier and escape into the atmosphere, you're going to create heat barriers in there, and that heat barrier is either going to, first feel hot, and then when you go into the air conditioning, then it's going to feel freezing cold, right? Instead, you just want to be able to balance that. Now, granted, if someone's out running a marathon, I'm not going to be able to create anything that's going to stop that. I'd say take your shirt off completely. But yeah, I feel like that is what it feels like. If we transition to like a long sleeve and you were out fishing or something, just not having this clingy fabric to you is a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And even the times when I just jump in to like stick the anchor or something, if we were beaching on a sandbar, you get the whole sleeve wet or the body, and it dries so fast. So you just, and even when it is sloppy wet, it doesn't feel like it's, holding you back from things. So ultimately that feel, Michael, is what really comes out. And that's from the performance. It's from the performance. It's from the fit. It's not one single thing that makes it a beautiful thing.
That's
But
what we need. It's the combination, man. It's that Venn diagram. We want to get right in the middle of that thing. And I think it's really important,
so
again, the way that you guys have created this. Um, only what I guess when did you sell your first t-shirt? Do we have that date? I'm assuming that's ingrained
yeah,
somewhere in your
June,
brain,
like
right?
June 23rd, I think was our first
All
sale.
right. So almost a
And I was
year.
still, yeah. So, and that you had asked earlier, like with the side hustle, we did not side hustle. We didn't actually launch it until I think it was on my last few weeks at the company. But I had talked to my CEO back in, I don't know, March of last year. And just in one of our catch ups, I said, we were talking about like uh, succession planning and, who's coming up in ranks. And I said, it's time to start thinking about some succession planning for me because I think there's somebody else that could step in the chair and do a lot better than me. Having been there and kind of been
Hmm.
through it a bunch of times, you want some fresh eyes and fresh heads in the chair and bringing some new things to the game. So, which was a great win because he said, "Look, I mean, if you're ready, I understand. So let's plan it." So we planned it, and we were that far in advance. I mean, I was there until July, end of July.
That is
Um,
awesome, man.
so we could
Well,
transition everything effectively and have it go
congratulations.
nicely. Yeah,
Nice,
thank you.
easy way to do it. Nice, easy way to do it. So I guess
Yeah.
with so you sell that first t-shirt, so that was probably awesome. Almost coming up
Mhm.
on a year, a little under a year, right? Around 10 months.
Mhm.
You got a lot more t-shirts to sell because you have a wife and kids and your coworker or your
Yeah.
co-founder probably wants to make a couple dollars, right? How have you gone about promoting the product? Like, it's one thing for you to tell me and my audience and say, this is the greatest shirt ever, right? Go buy
Yeah.
it online,
Yeah.
humidoutside.com, right? So
Right.
how did you actually get that point across? I actually just had an incredible conversation with a gentleman who started a product called Pro Hitter. Now is used by like 95% of MLB players because they used it enough. He literally just put it in enough people's hands that they now use it all the time. How do you go about getting this type of product into people's hands? I'm especially during the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. So the answer to how have we gone about like and getting that done right? We haven't. We
Yeah.
haven't. Like
If there was a
I
year that you couldn't do it, I'm not going to blame you on this one, man. Right?
yeah. I mean, coming into this mix where it was like the amount of like I'll say I don't know what I don't know, right? Every day it was like I don't know what I don't know. And Pat's still working in the corporate space, which he's about to be out of that in 2 weeks from now. So him and I
Congrats,
are going to
Pat.
be bolted up, and we're about to really get after it together, which is exactly what this business needs right now. But you know, we had this idea that everything was going to be solved through big social launches and paid media and things like that. And the reality is it takes a lot more than that to go and build a brand. But what we've learned some just extremely valuable things from our customer base along the way, which is they do love the brand, they identify with the brand, the product is killing it. um, we're converting extremely well on our website and all of this great stuff, but it was like, okay, now we've got to get a bigger spread. There's decision points of do you want to play in the retail space, do you not? So with Pat coming into the fold, we're taking it really slow and steady here. I was like, let's not make any crazy rash moves that are going to you know put us into something and then have to kind of back out of it. um, and when you're trying to put a solution out there that is a quality product, you need to make sure that it's always a quality product from every single angle. Like even when people receive a package from us, it's a branded bag, it's a
Hmm.
branded the box with branded tape that they see Humid Outside. When they get home, they're like, holy cow, it's there. you know it's awesome.
Hmm.
And when they open it, that they've got a note, they've got a handwritten note signed from me, because I mean it. Like I want to write the note to them. I love having people engage in our community, and that's what we're going to build. Ultimately, here is a community around Humid Outside. This is meant to be a lifestyle brand, and it's not something we build like in short order. So we knew that coming into this, and we're right now, I'd say in the last 60 days, especially starting to bolt up our relationships with people that can bring a
Hmm.
bigger bang. And that's anything in life, right? Like you work yourself to here, you figure out, okay, then we need to upgrade or make a
Hmm.
change to somebody who might know a little bit more, and just keep doing that. So that's what we're doing.
That's what
um,
we're doing. And I think you have a couple things working in your favor, right? So I always like to look at things from a positive. And
mhm.
while nobody wanted the pandemic, I sure as hell didn't. Everybody out there wish everyone was healthy and safe and we didn't lose all our loved ones, right? But positivity, golf, fishing, and hunting, if I'm not mistaken, are three of the sports, let's call it, that have had the biggest increase
Yeah,
in participation because they're socially distant, right? Like it's
yeah,
really easy to go and play nine by yourself or with like one of your buddies, right? Like you go play 18. My brother does it all the time. It's those some of those outdoor activities that aren't team based that are a little bit more you maybe two other people that it's really easy to get away with, especially in the beginning, middle of the pandemic, and still now where I think it's hard to get over like 18 months of what we just went through, right? Like I think
yeah,
there's going to be a lasting effect where sports like this, more people got involved, more people found out they liked it. Golf is easily one of the biggest sports that got positive from this because there were so many opportunities to be like, well, I could go outside, I could play nine, I might suck, but it's fun to hit a golf ball around and drink beer, right? Who doesn't like doing
yeah,
that? Same thing with fishing, hunting. Can't really drink as much beer, I don't think, but it's still fun, right? So how
yeah.
how have you seen specifically those spaces, and how are you guys, I guess, trying to take advantage of it to get people to understand, hey, you're going to have to wear long sleeves when you're on a boat because the reflection from the water is going to burn the hell out of your skin. Here you
Yeah.
go, you're not going to sweat as much, you're going to be comfortable. Like, how are you taking advantage of these three in particular areas that we've seen huge gains in over the last, I guess we'll call it 12 months?
Yeah. So first was some of the mistakes that we made with like actually when we first launched, we were targeting boaters, people who love living life on the water and so on. But we weren't doing a good job at that targeting because again, we didn't know what we didn't know. So I was trying a lot of things myself and trying to figure out how to kind of get Facebook
Hmm.
and social and all that kind of stuff working. And so I'd say we kind of missed some of that last year, and then it ended up broadening through the holidays. So really, we picked up most of our sales like through the holiday period where we're competing, for Black Friday deals and so on. And then it just became like a free for all. I mean, we had all kinds of people, buying our product. You couldn't tell whether like they were going for the boat or they were going
Hmm.
for just a barbecue or sitting on the couch. Um, so we kind of played to that actually for a little while until later, we got into first quarter this year is like something's got to change. This is too broad. We're a niche. We need to stay a niche, and make sure that the people that are looking for a solution to things that they do and that they see us, right, that they start to to get the visibility of the humid outside. And so we just really kind of started turning that corner, probably middle of the first quarter, and we had a great quarter by the way. But
Hell
like,
yeah.
and now we're transitioning to, okay, we're coming close to where our production and our golf stuff is going to become our golf polos. So we're going to need to start kind of building some of that content into the game. We just got our fabric results for like sun protection testing. So like our men's long sleeves are UPF 40, which is an excellent category. Same with the women's actually, but it's 35 UPF, which is still an excellent
What
category.
is
So
UPF?
UPF is kind of like they rate clothing in UPF versus like how your skin would be SPF protection,
Oh, okay, okay. Hmm.
sunscreen. So it's like a sun protectant.
Okay.
And they measure things, based on like how stretchy it is, because the more you stretch it out, obviously the more
Hmm.
sun's rays can get through. But ours not being too tight and not too loose, it's got some great coverage and actually surprised us on the results that came back. So we couldn't be happier with the results of a 40 UPF, just putting us in that excellent sun protection category. Because just like you said, you want to be protecting your skin out in the bay or on the water or even in the lake in Minnesota. So that's there is much to do, Michael. I mean, we are so I'll say infant in this world right now of apparel and outdoor performance apparel and so on. But I think once we really start picking up this traction in this one groove or these two grooves of, the boating,
Mhm.
outdoor water plus golf, watch out because it's going to start showing up a lot.
I can't
So
wait.
we're
And I
counting
guess
on
so. Also, it's super humid in Florida. That was one of my other points I wanted to make. So
it.
don't
Yeah.
really need to say too much about that one. So I guess last question, like how do you pick one of those lanes? Like, how do you know? Like, as you said, you were too broad, and then you wanted to kind of squish it down, and now you're saying like, okay, we're gonna go boating and we're gonna go golf, and you kind of made the connection before yacht club, country club. So I can see that, but
Yeah.
what led you to that decision to say, okay, we believe that this is the demographic that we're going after. Not only is the activity, but it's the price point. It's the
Yeah.
people caring about quality, right? Because sure, there's people that fish that don't give a shit about quality, right? And then there's guys that all that's through they care about. So how did you kind of pick that lane, and how are you now starting to drive 1,000 miles an hour down it?
Well, we picked them both because number one, we first started towards boat and water,
Hmm.
and that's what we were looking to solve. But along the way, we listened to our customers. Like our customers kept asking, like, when are you going to make a polo?
Give me a
Because
polo.
I could use this out on the golf course. I want to wear it to work. And if you think about the transitions of people who are going back to work, back to the office. Of course, a lot of people are going to, get rid of their lease space, but there's still a lot of people that are out there working. I think about guys that are in sales or whatever they're doing, they still want to be comfortable. They've been working at home for the last 12
Yep.
months and
Probably don't have to wear a tie every day anymore, right?
they got used to wearing those PJs. Well, they can't wear them, but we'll give them something that feels as good or even better that they can put on and feel really good but look really good at the same time. So back to that whole idea of like you can use it for the action, but you can use it in the casual atmosphere. I mean, those two spaces are one and the same because if you talk to quite a few boaters that have nice boats out there that love their days on the water, you can also find those guys on the course. So we want to give them something that they can use interchangeably. Not everybody wears long sleeves out in the boat either. So a lot of times they'll want to wear something like this right here, um, so that's where we're at. That's where we pick the lanes and we'll be, doubling down on
I
all of
love
that.
it. I
So,
love it. And it's one of those things where if you gain that community, as you said, it's a lifestyle brand. We're not just making
right.
shirts here. This is a lifestyle brand because as you said, like this is the type of person. They're gonna be outdoors, they're gonna be on the boat, they're gonna be playing 9, playing 18 during maybe work if they're lucky. They have one of those sales jobs, right? So they have all these opportunities, and that's the type of person, and that's what really has created this nice lifestyle that you guys are going after. And really it's also, hey, not only is it the most comfortable, but it's really humid outside. I don't know if you guys heard, especially down there in Florida. Take advantage of the product because I think it
That's
could
right.
be super useful. And I can't wait to get mine. I'm very excited. Not quite t-shirt weather yet, but I'll probably snag one of those polos when if and there are they available yet? Everything's available
They're not,
online?
they're not, well, yeah, polos are not, we're probably end of July, or excuse me, the end of June,
Okay.
which is about 60 days behind where we wanted to be, but but they're coming and they're going to be really good. I do promise that.
Can't
But
wait.
I will also say, like, for all, we've got a ton of people that live in the north. Huge amount of our customers. I'm gonna say probably right around 40% of our customers
It's
are
humid
all
here in
across
the
the
summer
upper
too, man.
Midwest,
Like
the Northeast. Yeah, I mean, we lived in Boston for a couple of years, and I tell you, those summers up there were those were
sweaty.
pretty dank.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, so yeah. Anyway, but I mean, base layer, all that kind of stuff, like that was all bonus. Quite frankly, we were kind of playing for the Gulf Coast, but once people started wearing long sleeves as their base layer and telling us, hey, this is like nothing I can get at at the hunting store or anything else. Like, well, we've got that too now. Let's focus there. So next winter we'll be definitely rolling out some cool stuff
Love it.
for our
It's
northern
cool.
friends.
It's cool to kind of hear how these stories happen, right? You listen to your customer, like, oh, you guys like this? Oh,
That's
we can
it.
see the numbers say you really like this. I guess this is an area we want to focus on. So I think
Right.
it's fantastic. One more time, Trav Mueller, co-founder of Humid Outside. I didn't say it once. I did not say Humid Outdoor once. So kudos, congratulations to me on that one. Talk to me. Where can everyone find you online? Where can everyone find the business? Where can we go order the product? Do we have a promo
Yep.
code? Maybe 10, 15% off for anybody out there listening? I don't know. Just throwing stuff out there, Trav. Just throwing stuff out.
Yep. Let's do it. So first of all, it's our main website is www.humidoutside.com. That's HUMID outside.com. You can follow us on Instagram at humid.outside, or you can find us on Facebook at Humid Outside. And promo code, let's just call it the love of sports. So we'll put that
Love
in.
it.
So let's go love of sports. And you're watching this, it's going to be live for, let's say, 2 weeks. And love of sports will get you 20% discount.
Can't wait. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I was just kidding about the promo code. I just thought you guys like had something ready to go.
Buddy. I'm okay with that. Let's go. Let's go.
I love it, man. I'll make sure to put everything in the show notes for everyone. I can guarantee I'm going to at least use it. And I'm going to tell my buddy to use it as well, because he likes to hunt and fish and do all that stuff. So you're going to get a minimum of 2. So hopefully that was worth your time today. Trav, this was incredible. Sincerely appreciate you, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. Sounds incredible. The way you described it, I can't wait to get my shirt. I'm so excited.
Awesome, man. I
appreciate
you,
Trav.
You, Michael. I love your podcast, man. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. No, pleasure. I do this for fun. To have incredible people like you tell me their story, get me amped, get me excited. Maybe I get a couple pieces of clothing out of it. Doesn't get any better than that. And also, of course, thank you to Todd. Always thank you to Todd for setting this one up. But for Trav, for myself, humidoutside.com, promo code love of sports, 20% off. Not bad. Doing this live. Let's go. Appreciate you, Trav. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.